Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a summit list. This deck is actually pretty okay. It's obviously favouring really high defense followers, and with a couple of interesting ones, the Temple Windbear and of course the new Malevolent Elegy is really actually quite decent as to really good cards. I mean, the Bane on this alone, even at 0 attack, basically means it kills everything, and Temple Windbear is actually pretty decent as both Sacred Plea and Beastly Vow are quite good cards and quite versatile, as one work a little bit better in the early game and one work a little bit better in the late game typically. But other than that, things like Feathered Rush get you extra storm damage. Other things are just kind of storm finishes, like of course Heavenly Knight for when you want those big ones. But I found just swarming the board with a lot of low statted followers like 1-2s and 1-3s and of course the 1-4s, and then just dumping the summit temples either very early or right when you need them can really cripple your opponent as far as health goes, and that makes this deck quite good to play. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it, and we'll get right into it. So kicking us off, first thing today is going to be Rune. No surprise there.
My barrier is impenetrable. I guess you're looking
I mean, Rune and Dragon are still reasonably popular. I have seen an increased uptake, of course, in Mysteria and Earth Rune. Pretty typical, especially since that's pretty much a good counter to everything at the moment as far as it goes. This deck in particular does have a pretty decent matchup against both Rune and Dragon, at least from my testing so far. Of course, it can struggle if they do end up just getting clear after clear after clear. That can really be the only time that you're going to run into a huge issue with the deck. So here's a good chance to use the Summit and the Sacred Plea, as I can hold on to that for Temple Windbear next turn, comboed with another either Unicorn or Jeweled Priestess, or even more draw power. There's just so many ways that you could work these hands out in the early game, which is always a good thing. So I decided to go for the Unicorn Knight play with the Temple, of course, Temple Windbear. Hold on to the Summit Temple, I usually like to, just in case they go for the early removal on the Summit Temples. People, of course, can remove it very easily, which can make things a little worse, or more like a lot worse, as this is kind of your core winning. So I kind of sometimes regret dumping my Summit Temple like that, but sometimes it's worth it for the extra draw. But in that situation, it probably honestly wasn't. And they removed my little bear. Poor little guy. At least now we have a chance to go for even more damage. And with a quick Servant of Repose, and of course a Malevolent setup, and 5 damage to face, we're going to be pretty well set, as Feathered Rush on our 4-4 that's going to spawn out of the Amulet, of course, with an Evo, we'll give it a 6-6, so we only need 2 damage to hit face. And there is the Seraphic Blade. And it looks like this is probably going to be able to win us the game now, quite easily. Well, they did manage to remove a pretty decent card there. They really weren't going to be able to hold out against this Feathered Rush Evo combo. Really just crushing our opponent's dreams right there. And a very quick game. Some games can be quite quick, others can be a little more drawn out, but typically you'll finish before turn 10. And finishing before turn 10 does mean that you're going to be able to beat out most Rune decks typically, and even most Dragon decks.
My barrier is impenetrable.
As I said though, if they do end up with a lot of removal, so if they have a really good removal hand, it can be quite tricky, or if they just end up absolutely storming the board with followers, it can also be quite a tricky spot, because of course we are running quite low statted followers overall, meaning they can be picked off by a lot of removal. But we kicked things off fairly well. Unfortunately, we didn't end up being able to get Summit early in this game. Usually I like to have it really early on, so turn 1 to turn 4, probably turn 1 to turn 3 honestly, is when you want it. Turn 4 might be a little too late by then. So we really want to get that Summit. Still didn't manage to get it. At least we are going to be able to remove one of these, or both of these. With 0-2, not much use attacking with it yet. We only did last turn. Psychological warfare, hitting people with 0-2s. Then we can go for the Apostle of Repose. Really good card if you want to set up some removal. Fortunately, it wouldn't have mattered which one I hit. Either one of those surviving was going to be a pretty bad option. We probably could have removed both going with the Father of Punishment play, but that would have felt pretty bad anyway. And instead, the 1/4 gets to stay up. And our second Apostle of Repose is going to wipe this board out while we set up some draw power. Now things are going to be a little trickier for our opponent. Unfortunately, we can't attack with these if we want to use the removal effect. And I can see them easily going to target these now. But luckily, Bane obviously will clean out pretty much anything. And this time we have no reason not to attack, which is great. And setting up a nice ward is going to make it very hard for our opponent to get over. Dragoncleaver Roy will come in though. He might save their life a little bit. I mean, it'll protect them from removal. And there is our Summit Temple, the exact thing we've been looking for. We are going to be able to take out at least the Serpent. That's kind of my main target right now. Actually, no, we take out both, don't we? Because of course, the Evolve effect will take out one, and then we clear the other. Go face for 7 damage, and then we can pretty much just roll on from there. But our opponent does end up conceding, so as you can see, most games will end fairly early on, which is really good for this deck. So when I am playing this deck, I do like to aim, of course, like I said, for that early package. Temple Windbears, Summit Temples, Jeweled Priestesses aren't bad options, but preferably these two cards are the ones I like to target the most. Also, Unicorns are also really good because they are 1/3, so if you get a Summit with a Unicorn, that's a lot of value right there. Otherwise, of course, really, these are just two big late game cards. Sister of Judgment, honestly, you don't need too many of those. Some people want to run more, but personally, I've found that 2 is really acceptable number in most Haven decks. Any more than that, and it can be quite a dead card, as the Fanfare does require another ally, and the Destroy effect requires an Evolve point, which you might be using on other followers, as, of course, going for damage, you want to get as much in as you can when you can, so you're not always holding on to those Evos till the very last minute. So, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time, see ya.